Okay, so thank you so much for coming to my talk, and especially for IGDC for inviting me and to having the concession that I can do it online because I have a little baby, and I cannot separate from him already. But thank you so much, especially to Shiraj and Mayank for all their work. So we are here to talk about a little bit of art direction in many ways. So who I am? I'm the guy with the Porco Rosso picture and LinkedIn. I have been animator, storyboard artist, art director, video game art mentor now, and for sure, and Star Wars enthusiast. I was raised and born in Mallorca, that is a little island near Spanish Peninsula, and I grew up watching TV series, and playing video games. And
Recording in progress.
and when I was a little bit older, I thought, okay, ouch, sounds, yeah, I thought, okay, mom, I want to be an artist, and that was something that was quite tricky because you have to convince them that this is a job, this is something that you can do, and you can earn money from it. But I got the luck that my parents really trust that I can do something. So they try to find a way for me to work on something visual, and so they take me to graphic design. So I spent 3 horrible years in at school learning graphic design, and the thing that I learned the most is what I don't want to do for the rest of my life. That was basically graphic design. But I found out that there was something that I learned there that was editing, and editing was something that really hit me and that really was interesting for me. So I thought, okay, I can. How can I mix editing with drawing, and animation came quite quite handy in that with that mix. And I didn't thought about being an animator before that because I thought I would never be able to do anything related to animation. It was too difficult for me. It was too many drawings. So I joined a master of animation that was called Maiska, and I did my first short movie that was Seed of Memories. And with that, I moved from several festivals, animation festivals in Spain and in Europe. I have lots of nominations and some awards. And what was really interesting is that I end up being nominated in like the Oscars of Spain. I didn't win, but I was lucky enough that someone from a company that was called Digra Films saw my work and they hired me as an animator. So I moved to Galicia, and I was there working as a storyboard artist. I as an animator that was my first job, but I did a lot of things: storyboard, modeling. I direct some short movies there. And after some years, I decided to go back to my hometown and found my own studio and work for myself. So I founded Balieri Studio. That was a production, small animation production studio. I did several different works like TV series, like uh, pilot TV series. I also did a lot of advertisement. We did special visual effects for cinema, and that forced me a little bit in the way that I had to have like a clear pipeline to do lots of work in a really small amount of time. So all those years, I was working for my own company around 8 years. It was really helpful to develop that pipeline to do lots of work with a, 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 a good amount of investment in time. So after all these years, the only thing that I didn't do was video games, and I was super engaged with video games. And I thought, okay, let's do a second company. And let's found a second company that was called Awesome Video Games. And with that, we started doing our first game, first and only. That was Fude Samurai. It was a crazy game at that time. We are talking about around 2013, where the biggest phone was the iPhone 4. That was like this, more or less, not so big. And I wanted to do something that was visually interesting, super well animated, and had something to add to the market. And we thought, okay, let's do something crazy. Let's do game that mixes something so different from like e-learning Japanese and a hack and slash game. So we did that crazy mix, and it was really interesting. We learned a lot. And as I said, I like to show my stuff. I like to go to festivals and do talks. I like so much because you end up knowing people, you end up getting feedback from your work. And the best thing that came out of this game was that I in one of my talks about how we developed this game with just two persons, someone from King was in the audience. And after that talk, 2 days later, I have an offer to be the art director on the Barcelona studio for King. And that was great. That was a huge step up in my career, and I learned lots of things in that position. So for me, King was a great place to be, and I was hired to be the art director on Bubble Witch 2. That at the moment they had a really small team. We were like 5 artists and myself, and they were a little bit misaligned. They needed a little bit of guidance, and especially because, not sure if you know Bubble Witch Saga, but we came from the first one, that is the one in the left. So it was grayish. It that doesn't have any like super appealing characters. They have like this old women that was like a really 3D-ish style with loads of detail, and it doesn't help the gameplay. So they asked me to do something more aligned on what Disney was doing at that time. And at that time, there was probably the only movie that they had released was Tangled. So we took all that spirit of bringing something more cartoony to the IP of Bowlweed. So we moved from that image to the other one that was just one of the concepts that we were working on, and at the end we end up having something more like that. It was not perfect, but we did that with a really really small team, compare one with what they actually have now, that they're small teams but not that small. We were just like we were doing this like for 3 persons, doing all the backgrounds and the characters and the poses. I was in charge of the all the work related to characters, from character design to the character poses on character rendering. And I tried to put all my experience from my own company on how to create the pipelines to make them um, more friendly to a production, to easier to reproduce. So all of this was done with those knowledge know-hows that I got from my own company. And when we finished Bubblewood 2, we get into the next project that at that moment was Bubblewood 3. And with Bubblewood 3, we wanted to push the envelope a lot, on all the things that we could not do with Bubblewood 2. And we changed a lot of things here. we moved from a more 3D style to a more cartoony style with a 2D visual look. But even if it was 2D, the visual look, there were 3D characters. So I wanted to be able to do lots of stuff outside the 3D program, because 3D sometimes, if you are a small team, it can slow down your pipeline. So we move from that to a mix of 2D and 3D. And one of the first things that I did was to change the proportions of the main character. With Bubble 2, we found out that Stella was a great character. People was engaged with her, but she has some problems. She has really thin arms, and she tries to rise up things or to do some poses, we have to fake that, and we have to put some fixes because she doesn't look so cool. So with Bubble 3, I redesigned her in a way that she had strong arms. She was taller because we wanted her to feel a little bit more older or experienced. And also we tried to match more the ratio of the heads that Disney had. So we moved from the character in on your right, I think, to the one in the left. And one of the things that we were able to do also with Bollywood 3 was character exploration. Everything that comes out in Bollywood 2 came from Bollywood 1, so it was just like a redesign of Bollywood 1. But we wanted to do new characters, and we end up having the bad guy that was Wilbur, and we did the proper character exploration, and then a proper 3D modeling with expressions and model sheets. And so, but at the end, we found out again that technology was a barrier. Technology was a showstopper for us, and that came out again my work to try to fix with a clear pipeline how to fix that. So in the upper row, you can see what we were able to get from the actual rig on the game. And in the lower part, you can see the fixes that we did, or I did in this case, to get clear expressions and more extreme because he was the bad guy. So what ended up in the game was the lower part, and that was one of my works to try to push with the pipeline everything that we could do with the normal tools and assets that we have. So that's a little bit my work at King. It was 8 years doing lots of stuff and some unreleased projects, but I will try to go how or why I do that, and I will start from the very beginning. So the first thing is for me is a little bit my philosophy, and my philosophy is that you have to be ready. Inspiration will catch you working, so you have to work a lot to be ready when the time comes. And for me, hard work is way more important than talent. When I was studying at the animation master that I did, I was not the most talented guy. I was one of the like mid-range talented guy, and there were like really good companions there working. And one day I was talking to one of my teachers, and I say, hey, I'm a little bit like down because I see that the others do a really good job and mine is not as good. And he told me something that I never forget, that this is not a speed race. The one that wins is not the one that finishes first, is the one that stays the most. So this is a marathon. And after 20 years working on the industry, I can barely say that I can truly say that he was right, because I'm one of those from that master that I'm still working on the animation and video game industry, and some of the really talented guys was they are not working on that anymore. So hard work is for me really more important than talent, and I try to put that in all of the things that I do. And as I said, I'm more or less known in at social media as Renato 3XL, and I do lots of stuff. I really love to do animated shorts. I love to do comic books. I really love to do Star Wars stuff, so you can say by my background. So I try to put all my love into the things that I like, into the work that I do for myself, and I try to push that work with the things that I like. So I have done some stuff to apart from the actual art. I like to create stuff. I like to build rooms and droids and costume for myself. So I really encourage you to work hard, and if you're good at something, push it and do it. So the first thing that you will face is to be hired, and you better be ready when the opportunity comes. And I learned this failing and not being ready when the opportunity comes. So I don't want you to have that that happen to you. So focus on what you're good at and train it. And if you're good at modeling, do lots of models. If you're good at storyboard, do lots of storyboards and try different things inside your discipline. So it's really important that you have a wide range of skills inside your discipline or even outside of your discipline if you like them and you enjoy doing it. As I said, I like to do storyboard. I like to do animation, modeling. I do lots of stuff, and when I have to show it to a specific company, I prepare specific portfolios for that company and specific cover letters, because at the end they are going to try to fill a gap, and if you can show them that you are that spot to fill that gap specifically, it's easier to jump from the first barrier that you will face, that is the HR department. They don't need to have any artistic knowledge to know if you have potential or you don't have potential. You have to show them clearly that you are the person to fill that gap. And if you can do it, I'm always trying to be everywhere, be in social media, be in festivals, go to IGDC, go to any related thing that is from animation or video games or wherever you like to do. So with this, probably is going to be easier to be hired. And then when you are already hired and you have raised up to the point that you are an art director, or you are just funding your own company and between your colleagues, you are the art director because you have some feeling that you can do that job. Here's some tips and tricks, and we are getting to the important part. Here are some tips and tricks on how to think about the art direction and the theme and all of the needed things to do a video game and an IP. So first of all, and for me, it's find the golden nuggets, the suit that better suits you, the suit that better fits to your project. So we start from the idea of the game. So what's the idea of the game? What's the clearest and shortest sentence that will make everybody understand what is our game? So I want to do a platforming game. I want to do a fighting game that it's bloody and gross, or I want to do a sport game or an adventure game. So here you can get really deep into what the idea of your game is, but the deeper you go, it will be easier to explain it, and then to have all that information to start boosting it with the theme and with the art direction of the game. So when you have your idea and when you have decided what's the idea of your game, what's the thing that will resume the idea of your game, you go outside of that and you try to find references on your same media, like different video games, like your competitors. And if you say, okay, we are going to do a platforming game, you have lots of options. You can do something pixel art, but super well animated and super appealing, like Celeste, or you can go like movie crazy style with lots of characters and amazing backgrounds and astonishing animations like Ori. Or you can, and both of them are side scroll games, and you can say, okay, we have something like Mario, but more amazing visually, or we are going to go for a more Mario like Celeste. But you can go further than that, and you can do like a 3D environment, and you can go like Jack and Daxter, and you have something that goes out of the side scroll. You have an entire world, and that will affect your art direction because you won't have a fixed camera. You have a moving camera, and you can even go crazier and do a platforming game that is in a 3D world and it's in first person shooter, and it's in first person, sorry. So that will also affect your art decisions because it's not the same to be aware of your environment in a game that you see your character than in a game that you are the character and you have to see where the character steps or grabs, and so there are different decisions there. And when you really know what's the important thing here and what's the direction you want to face, you have to go outside of this. You have to go, if you are going to create, for example, an RPG, you have to go to tabletop games. You have to find what's important there, what's the thing that makes them fun. How can you incorporate all of those techniques or stories or mediums into your game and make it more special, or and also you can go for movies related in some way to your stuff, like Excalibur or Kingdom of Heavens, movies that are about cavalry or adventure, and try to pick all the good things that they have. You have to go to novels like The Witcher did, and there are lots of different places that you can grab inspiration to add stuff to your game. Or you can go to the anime that they are like super good doing some themes and then twisting them and finding little bits and pieces from others and mixing them in a really appealing way. So try to find any inspiration from things outside of the media that you're working on to get important things that no one else have thought, and add them to your idea. So once you have your idea set up and you have all the references from your media and all the references outside your media, you have to boost it with a theme that works and with a theme that boosts the gameplay, boosts the idea of that game. And we have something that is good, that there are themes that fit to your idea. For example, if you are going to do a first person shooter, you could say, what fits to my idea? Military is something that anybody could understand. I know there are good guys. I know there are bad guys. I know there are guns. I know there's ammo. I know there are two teams, and I know I have to beat the other team or kill the other team or so. So basically, when you pick that theme, you don't have to explain anything to anyone. It's just like perfect fit. First person shooter or third person shooter, military. No explaining. But it's interesting to think what doesn't fit to your idea. What's the opposite thing to military? And probably a squid will. If you take a look at the squid, you won't say, "Oh, first person shooter squid," or action squid, or something similar to that. So thinking the opposite is also a good thing because it will show you ways to to change it and make it work. And I think in that case, for example, Splatoon did it really well. I'm pretty sure that the thinking process of Nintendo when they were doing this was, okay, we want to do a shooter. We want to do something that is not violent. We don't to kill people. So our first approach to that would be uh, paintball. We, we have guns, but they are paint bullets. So, but paintball still a little bit military, and it doesn't have the appealing of the military stuff. So it's like a mid ground. So they thought about, okay, let's keep the idea of paint, and if we go for paint and ink, what doesn't get to our idea? And squids have ink, so uh, it matches. They made it match. And if you ask directly to someone, what does the first idea that comes to your mind? If I say first person shooter, you won't say squid. So they made it work, and this is something that you can keep for yourself on your projects, because it's really important to think what fits to my idea and also what doesn't fit and how can I make it fit. So you probably find out uh, curious things and things that could enrich the world of your game. So once you have found the theme or the envelope of your game and the idea of your game, you have to find what's the most important thing for your game. What is the thing that will shine? What's the thing that will um, be the most important? And if you're doing a game like Overwatch, characters will be the most important thing. I could play Overwatch in a gray environment and enjoy the game and enjoy the characters because they are, for me, the most impressive character design on video games ever. Any of them have a lot of personality, a lot of appealing. All the characters are really saying you what they are going to do with their shape, with their colors, with the attitude, with the theme of those characters. Um, so if we have um, a character that is going to be the tank, like uh, oh, I forgot the name. Reinhardt, sorry. If you have the tank that is Reinhardt, you can barely say that guy is already a tank with legs. That guy is big, is bulky, is armored. He has a big hammer to hit you. He has a huge shield. So that guy is the tank. And if you think about a healer, Mercy is an angel, is something that will clearly is going to heal you. So they have found that way to transmit the function of the character into the design of the character. But maybe your game is not about characters, it's about where the characters are. And for example, in Stray, you can find out that the character design is basically a really realistic cut. It's nothing fancy, is nothing. They have their technical issues and their technical challenges to make that cat being believable. But the important thing on that game is where the cat is, where the cat is going to act, where how is the world setting, how is the world making you feel that that cat lives there and the world is alive. It has characters, it has lots of details like the boxes pile up and all the neon signs. That makes that world believable. That makes you believe that world exists and it's an appealing world. So maybe that's where you have to put all the effort of your concept artist and your art direction to establish this as your main pillar for the art of your game. And maybe you have a game that is not the characters, is not the environment, is the gameplay itself. In Beat Saber, you have to really nail how the swords are shown and how the boxes come and how the boxes are showing to the character to the player where is going to be the cut being done, and that's the most important thing because the gameplay here is the first thing, and then you have like a small envelope to put it all together, and they found a really cool way to make it cheap for VR and so. But the most important thing was that. So try to find that golden nugget of what's the most important thing for your game, and then put it in front of your production and start building your game from that. In the case of Bubble Witch, for me was two things: was the character, because we wanted the character to have interaction with the player in some way, and the bubbles itself, the game asset. So we focus all the effort of the team to put that, and we knew that we will need some backgrounds, but the backgrounds are not going to be super important. They're just something to make the game not being so repetitive. But the most important thing was that. So try to build your pyramid from that. And to do that, you will need what we call the visual pillars, and try to find them. What's the visual pillars of a game? So the visual pillars at the end is the the rules of the game that answers all the questions if this is right or wrong in terms of style, and if this fits or not in terms of style. So I like to put this example because these three games have been done by the same art director. They started with Bastion, and then they moved to Transistor. They made Pyre, and then they made Hades. And you can see an evolution of the art, and you can see that there are things that are shared between them. For example, all the reds and all the blues are in all their games, and that makes also like the brand of your house, like the brand of your company. But they have different things. If we take a look at Bastion, Bastion had a character with really extreme proportions. They have a big head, big hands, and small body, because it was something related to the gameplay, and they needed something like this. And it has like a uh, pictorial style. It was based on tiles. So they had that as the pillars of the game, and then they move into Transistor. And if we take a closer look to Transistor, they keep the tiles, they keep the pictorial style, but they change the proportions, and that change on proportion is something that is also on their pillars. So it's good to have in mind that everything should be written, or at least in the mind of the art director. And then we move into Hades, and Hades say, okay, we are going to get rid a little bit of the illustration or pictorial style, and we are going to go more into a comic book style. We are going to add blacks, pure blacks, as shadows. We are going to keep things that we like, that would be like the more realistic proportions, and we're going to keep the colors of the company, but we are going to go in a different way. And if you want to put the main character of Transistor into Hades, you will have to do some fixes. You will have to do some adjustments, and that adjustments would be part of those pillars. So always ask yourself constantly if something fits to the pillars of your game. So if I was working on Splatoon, for example, I would say, okay, team, let's do a rocket launcher. And our awesome team comes with this idea. Oh, this rocket launcher is super cool. Is amazing. I would like to have it hanging on my wall, but it doesn't fit so much to what Splatoon does. So could be a better fit. Is something that we could make it. Splatoon probably is more friendly, family friendly. It's more colorful. It has a little bit more of a cartoony style. So I asked to my art team, and my art team comes with this that is from Fortnite. And okay, we can see that it's more colorful. We have something that has bigger proportions, so it looks like more like a toy. So that could really fit to our Splatoon game. But can we do something better? Can we do something that really fits to our theme? And they did it. They really find out something that fits, and they create something that in terms of color it matches, in terms of shape it matches, and they even had that the rockets are crayons, so they even put more from that painterly theme inside of that gun. So if you can always ask yourself if that matches your pillars, that will increase a lot the coherence on your game, and that will increase a lot how your game is perceived by the rest of the person. You will create more special things. So when you have all of this, we get a little bit to highway to the danger zone, and there's something that is sometimes not related to art direction, but the art director has to be aware of that. And for me, it's beware of the UI. Function has to be always first. And we have seen lots of games that look like this. They have a really, really messy UI. Any Asian MMO can look like this or worse. And we have to think that people have to be calm down when they look at your game. They have to be focused on what they have to do. So there are ways to fix it, and probably well, this is from World of Warcraft, and even they have all that amount of information. It's better organized. It's better if you put it in a way that is easier to be seen. And if you can integrate that into your gameplay, would be even better. Will be more immersive for the game, more immersive for the players. And in Dead Space, for example, they have the air that is left for you, the life that you have, all the ammo. You can see it in the screen, but inside of the game. So if you can in any way do this into your game, will be even better. And then resuming a little bit, the best is yet to come. So you have to choose wisely. You have to plan wisely. If you really can plan your art direction and your game in the wisest way, thinking all of the things that I have told you, it will be way better and way easier to solve all the problems. So if you have to stop working and think, okay, what's the most important thing to do if tomorrow we would have to leave it? What's the most important thing if tomorrow we have like a publisher coming and we have to show them what we have? This will answer lots of questions on what's the most important thing, because you will say, okay, maybe if we put some effort into those animations, no one will notice, but if we put a good UI or we fix the UI, people will have a better impression on our game. So this goes to the big rock theory, and the big rock theory says that if you have bigger, mid, and small rocks and you try to put them all in the same pot, if you put it randomly, they won't fit. But if you start for the big rocks, all the smaller rocks will find its way to the better fit on that pot, and that works too for the work. And I have realized that trying to do it myself. So if you find out what's the most important thing to do on your game, the rest of the tasks, the rest of the things you have to do, they will find a way, because they are not super important. So sometimes they will get out of the pot and they will be done. Well, they won't be done, but they won't be done because they are not important, but the important thing will be there. So try always to have that in mind. Big rocks first. And then at the end, a little bit, if even if this hurts my artist soul, gameplay first. You can find lots of examples out there of games that are visually awful, but they were really fun and they were a big hit, a big success. And I haven't found any game that visually is marvelous, but the gameplay sucks and it's a success. So try to always put in your games the gameplay first. You will find out that people will be engaged because it's fun, not because it's pretty. So this is something that, even if it hurts me a little bit, I think it's really, really true. So just for resuming, being an art director is like riding a bike. You just have to find the balance and keep going forward. But probably the bike is on fire, you are on fire, everything is on fire, and you are in hell. So thank you so much. I hope this have been useful for you, and I think if you have any questions, I can try to answer. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Renato. We will open up the floor for any quick questions anybody has.
Hi, Renato. Thank you for this presentation. I want to know how much of accessibility needs does art direction look at? Like, if you have people with visual impairments or with hearing impairments, and you want to include them in your game, and that's becoming a bigger narrative in the industry, how do you look at that in art direction?
Yeah, that was a big thing when we were working on Bubble Witch, because Bubble Witch was a game that basically it works with colors. So you have different colors for the bubbles, and we had to try to find the right colors and to put something inside if you are colorblind. So for us was really important to try to make the game as accessible as possible. We also had some different controls for people with hand disabilities. So for me, it's something that if you can work on that and you can make it a reality on your game is super important. But because people really are happy if they have different options to play your game. And in terms of art direction, that's a huge challenge, because you have to have someone to have feedback about that. You have to find people with those specific disabilities and show them your game and ask them for feedback, because you as you don't have that disability, is really difficult to understand how they see the world and how a colorblind people see your game, and having that information from them is super important, because you can fix them. Sorry, you can fix them, the problems that your game has, to make them being able to see your game. So it's a really hard thing to do, but I know there are lots of companies that they are trying to put a lot of effort into making the games visible or playable for all kinds of persons, and I can say that art direction wise, I always try to put also again gameplay first, and if I have to make things a little bit uglier, but they are functional for someone with an issue, it's better for me, because at the end it will make some person that has a disability being able to play it. I can hear anything, so I'm not sure if
All right, thank you.
you're
That's
muted.
all the questions we have. And thank
Okay.
you so much for the interesting talk. We all loved it.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you. All right, guys.